Hey, what's going on, everyone? This is Mitch. Good Saturday morning to you all. Hope you guys are having an awesome start to your day and a great start to your last weekend of August. About to enter September here in a few days. I'm very excited about it. One of my favorite times of the year is September through the rest of the year. Definitely one of my favorite times. But I got you an update on the tropics. I got you an update on what's going to happen with the weather today. But I can tell you 3/4 of this video is going to be discussing the tropics. Now, I want to continue to pump out the daily content in the mornings as far as discussing the weather for today. I don't want to completely get away from that ever. But I can tell you, if we do get to a point, and we're not there, where we have a threatening scenario, then obviously the more dominating topic will be that threatening scenario if we do get to that. So between both videos, not just the evening videos, but we're going to talk about a lot of things in this video. So if you guys have not subscribed, certainly consider doing that. I really appreciate the growth over the last, I would say, 10 days. I mean, I've definitely had an uptick in growth. Picked up about, I don't know, about 400 or 500 subscribers. So I really appreciate the support. I really do. It means a lot. You're just supporting someone who has a passion for the weather. And I really appreciate you guys. Hit me up on Twitter. It's just a great way to follow along. I'm constantly pumping out content and updates. Like I said, subscribe, like the video if you like it. I really appreciate the support, guys. I really do. And if you guys got anything that I can pray about, pray over, please put it in the comments below so I can pray over it and so everybody else can too. And we all do that on this channel. It's like a family atmosphere, and I really appreciate that about you guys. So let's get rolling here. And I can't tell you enough. Hit me up on Twitter, guys. It's not always for me super serious on Twitter. I like to have a little fun with the weather too. Obviously, I don't make a threatening scenario into a funny situation. It gets very serious then. But, I like to interact with you guys. So definitely hit me up on Twitter or Facebook. But what we got going on here, this is the Atlantic Basin, basically, and, there's not a whole lot going on right now. Not a whole lot going on in the lower 48. It's pretty quiet weather. But this is the area we watch. It's a very broad area of disorganized showers and storms, which we would expect out of a tropical wave. This trailing wave, I wouldn't say is non-existent now, but it's really becoming more dominated by this, more dominating vortice right here, which is obviously well out in front of it. So all model guidance likes the idea of this developing and eventually, once it gets north of the Caribbean islands, becoming our next named storm. There's a solid chance, guys, a solid chance that we're going to get through the rest of August without a named storm. In fact, I want to say there's at least a 90-95% chance unless something crazy happens here in the next few days. And by the way, I've had a couple questions about that Gulf storm by the GFS. I'm just not buying it. We are waking up this morning and there's still no model guidance besides the GFS showing that. So, and I can already tell you the GFS is trending a little bit weaker, almost like it's trending away from that Gulf system. But we'll talk about that just briefly in this video. But I can tell you, this is per the 2 a.m. update. I want to remind y'all that there will be another update in about 30 minutes. So what kind of stinks about that is I'm not giving you the latest and greatest information. But I can tell you, if anything, this might increase to a 40% risk. But the only reason I see it not doing that is because most of the development that's going to occur is probably going to be in the next 6 to 7 days. This is going to stay pretty disorganized through, I would say, the next 4 or 5 days. It doesn't really start strengthening until we get into this area, if it does. So I just want to remind you guys of that. If it updates after, I make this video, I'm sorry about that. But anyways, Storm Prediction Center, not a whole lot going on. There's a big area that could see some strong to severe storms, including a very small risk just north of Minneapolis that could see maybe a tornado risk today. And like I said, if you're not interested on the weather for the lower 48, just skip ahead. When I can make this a full-time job hobby, guys, and that is my plan. If that's God's plan for me, I plan to make little chapters and sections in these videos. I know it's annoying having to skip ahead, but that takes a lot more time than you think it does. You got to do a lot of editing, and unfortunately, just working a full-time job and this just being a part-time hobby, I don't have a ton of time to put any more effort towards these videos than I already do. But I appreciate you guys being patient. I really do. But damaging wind threat here today, a 5% risk, 25 miles in a given location. There'll be a hail threat today, but this isn't that big of a story today. It really won't be. And the good news is the excessive rainfall outlook looks probably the best it's looked probably in the last several days. Well, watch out, Iowa. There will be a 15% risk of flash flood guidance being met. Other than that, just some, a very small possibility that some of these tropical downpours in the southeast could produce some flooding. But, that's any time of the year. It really is, especially in the summer. But the southeast, what can happen today? We're expecting those tropical downpours, especially bordering the Gulf Coast down here in Louisiana, Alabama, Mississippi, and the Panhandle of Florida. And I think it'll be a very rainy day in the entire peninsula of Florida. So if you're vacationing down here, especially when those sea breeze storms get going, watch out, or in and around the Disney World, SeaWorld area, Universal Studios. You're certainly going to get some afternoon showers and storms today. And we could get some pop-up popcorn showers and storms anywhere outside this too, to the north and the mid-south, the Carolinas, but I don't think they're going to be very widespread. There will literally be popcorn in nature, meaning they'll pulse up. We call them pulse storms or popcorn storms, and then they'll diminish here within an hour or two. The northeast today, what we're expecting, not hardly anything. Very quiet day, pretty warm day. But as far as showers and storms, not really a big story today. South central U.S., you continue to suffer with a drought, especially the south central Texas area, but at least you've made up for lost ground. You've picked up a little bit of rain. Not seeing very widespread rains today, some isolated showers and storms. Central Texas, and then we'll have a risk for some severe storms in western and central areas of Kansas today, and then more so western, the Panhandle of Oklahoma, the Panhandle of Texas. And as we get into the evening hours, these could kind of drift a little further east into deeper areas of Kansas and Oklahoma. We'll see what happens with that exactly. This morning, we're waking up with a little area of showers and storms. They will diminish. Maybe some showers into the UP of Michigan today. And then maybe some more showers and storms will form. And then we'll watch out for a tornado threat in and around this area a little bit later this afternoon into this evening. So watch out around Minneapolis, especially just north. You could see a tornado warning or two. And then it gets more active as far as just more widespread showers and storms will start to move out of Minnesota into Wisconsin. So this can continue to move through the later overnight hours into the UP of Michigan. So watch out in this area, northern Wisconsin. You could have some rocky weather as the sun's going down later tonight into the overnight hours. It's certainly possible here. Temperatures, pretty warm. I would say this is your classic late August day. In fact, maybe a tick above average for certain areas. Pretty warm across the mid-south. The only reason you're seeing cooler temperatures to the south rather than to the north right here is because you just got rain-cooled air. That's the only thing saving you guys down here. But tropical air mass in place, just typical late August conditions. 80s for the south, 80s, 90s for the south also. Just depends on if you get sunshine, it'll warm into the 90s. If you don't, it'll probably stay in the 80s. 70s, maybe some 60s in the higher elevations of the northeast, but just 80s in the Great Lakes region, the Ohio Valley, and 70s and 80s probably for the Midwest. So let's talk about the tropics. So let's take a closer look at what's going on. This is not dubbed an invest or anything like that. I'm kind of surprised it's not, but I'm not going to guarantee it, but I can almost say with high confidence this will be an invest probably within the next, by the time we get to the end of the weekend, I will say. But right now, this is Water Vapor Loop per weathernerds.com. I love this site. It does a great job of contrasting colors and things like that. But the whiter colors and obviously the blue and greenish colors right in here, that tells us that, this has a nice moist bubble here. There's high water content in the atmosphere. But this area right here, this is more dry air. These oranges, browns, especially this color red right here. That is intense dry air, especially in the mid-levels of the atmosphere. This has plagued the Atlantic Basin all hurricane season long. This actually prevented the tropics from getting going a little bit earlier in the hurricane season and has really tampered down. So this blob, this huge broad area, this huge broad tropical wave, it's not in a perfect environment. And it makes sense that it's not, because it doesn't really show the get developing here on the models that I'm about to show you until it really gets into this area. It's going to deal with dry air. Now, the one thing we watch for, and if you're wondering what these little yellow dots are, that is actually lightning strikes. So one reason why I love this site. It's a free site, by the way. Weather Nerds is free. You can do custom satellite loops. It's awesome. Anyways, but going forward here in time, it's going to battle dry air. Now, the question is, how much does this affect the northern end of the storm, especially the northeast quadrant of the storm as this plows westward or west-northwest? There's dry air right here. Is it going to get kind of entangled in basically any kind of circulation? basically the heart of this system, we don't know. But as long as it keeps a nice moist bubble around this broad area of showers and convection, then I think it will maintain. But if it gets ripped apart, then it's not going to develop down the road. Now it could, but the chances are less likely. So here's the European. What does it look like from overnight? So we'll start this afternoon. If you're wondering what day we're at or the date, look up here. Focus really just on the date or the day, not necessarily what Zulu time we're at. So moving forward here, we're getting into Sunday morning. Notice this number. The lower this number goes, the stronger system that we have. And if you notice, it doesn't really strengthen. It kind of strengthens, goes down a number, goes up a number. But in general, as we get into about midway next week, the last couple of days of August, in general, there's no real strengthening of the storm until we get about I would say 5 or 6 days out. It's just northeast of the Lesser Antilles at this point. And then you start to see a little bit of strengthening. But even then, it's still struggling. We get about 6 days out. You notice there's nothing in the Gulf from the Euro. You notice there's a wave behind this wave. But then we can flip to this, get a little bit closer. And we're into Friday morning. And then we're getting into our Labor Day weekend. We're literally 1 week out from right now. We're September 3rd, so we're next Saturday. At this point, if the Euro was correct, we would have a named tropical storm north of Puerto Rico and heading towards the areas of the Bahamas and cruising through the southwest Atlantic. Keep this going here. We're getting to that 7 to 10 day range, which is a pretty decently unreliable time frame. But because we have a lot of model agreement, you know, we can say that, hey, this is a realistic scenario. Now, one thing I want to mention this. I'm not going to talk about the steering currents in this video. I'm going to leave that information for the evening videos because that goes into another 5 or 6 minutes. So that's why, you know, stay tuned for the evening videos. That's when the really extensive breakdown really occurs with the tropics. So stay tuned for that. We'll talk about what could steer this system and what we know right now. So as we're moving forward, we get into about 8 days out. And then we get into our Labor Day morning, September 5th. This is very far out, guys. It's about 9.5 days out. This is probably a Category 1, strong Category 1, borderline Category 2 hurricane around the areas of the Bahamas. So it's something we need to watch. And I would bet that the steering currents begin to slow right here. A lot of model guidance on the Ensembles has this thing starting to move north after this, but that's pretty far out. Latest GFS, we mentioned last night that GFS was like almost drunk or something. It's waking up. It's a little bit more sober this morning, and it's coming back around with the idea. It's in very much agreement this morning on the European. And here we go. We get all the way until about this 6 days out, next Friday morning, September the 2nd. We have a strengthening tropical wave starting to inch closer to tropical storm status, I would say. We're going to flip it and get a little bit closer. We'll bring it on here. And we're getting into our Saturday morning at this point. And then we get into 1 week out. And look here. The Euro and the GFS agree at this point, at this time frame. You got a tropical storm just north of Puerto Rico. You know, give or take a millibar and give or take a little bit of geographical location, right? You know, we don't expect these to be perfect. But I will mention, here it is. GFS still showing a named storm in the Gulf of Mexico. But I can tell you, no other model guidance is biting on this. I don't care, guys, how consistent the GFS is on this. The GFS just does not have my all-time respect right now. It really doesn't. The GFS, I think it does a great job with picking up on pattern changes. I do. But when it comes to the nitty-gritty, it gets just too flip-floppy one way or the other. But the one reason I'm showing you the GFS with this system is because it's still 1 out of 2 of the major models that we look at. And I can tell you that it is agreeing with the European right now. Now, obviously, the GFS goes 15 days out, not just 10 days out per the Euro. But I can tell you we get about 8 days out next to Labor Day Sunday. And we go all the way to Labor Day at this point, and we have a borderline major hurricane northeast of the Bahamas, but it looks like it's beginning to turn north, and then it becomes a fish storm. So it flirts with the idea of making landfall in the southeast, and then it heads on out. But this is very far out, guys, very far out. At the same time, you got a landfalling hurricane into Mexico around next Sunday, about 8 days out. So the GFS is on board with certainly a hurricane at this point, but where it goes after that, Who knows? We don't even know if it's going to form. But I can tell you the icon 120 hours out, and the latest icon for the morning of September 1st already has a tropical storm well east of the Lesser and Greater Antilles. So well before it even gets close to the Caribbean or the Southwest Atlantic. So the icon really wants to jumpstart this really here in the next 120 hours, really by sometime in the next, I would say, 4 or 5 days. It really wants to get this going. We look at the ensembles at this point, and this is 1 week out. This takes us 1 week out, takes this energy, gets it to about right here, just, I would say, north in and around, just north of Puerto Rico. And there's a lot of signals here, and I can tell you there's a lot of strong model support for this one behind it too. But look at this Gulf storm. You only got about 7 members, maybe 7 or 8, I can't count. Anyways, showing a Gulf system out of 50 from the ensemble. So that just tells you there's just hardly no support for this. We get a little bit closer here, and you know what? Now let's back it up here. We get a little bit closer here, and we go, let's see, 240 hours out, and here we go. I mean, there is a lot of low millibar storms in this, right? I mean, you got some that are well below 1,000 millibar low pressure, which is the named storm. And you got a lot of these that look like they're heading right towards the Bahamas and right towards Florida. But, you know, don't freak out, guys. We got a lot to figure out. And I can tell you, historically, especially over the last decade and 2 decades, really, a lot of times these storms like to get right into here. And then they like to turn big time, or either sneak into the Gulf of Mexico, and they like to grind the southeast coast rather than do what Hurricane Hugo did, which, by the way, was a very uncommon steering current. You had a ridge on top, and you had a little upper level low feature kind of around this area, and it helped pull the storm westward. I mean, there's a reason why we haven't had a Hugo happen again in you know, I mean, how long has it been? Like over 30 years? So anyways, that's all I got, guys. Thank y'all for tuning in. I have even a much more extensive update specifically on the tropics tonight. These videos have been dragging on for a very long time. But, you know, I just get to talking, and I don't want to just give you surface value information. I want to talk about kind of what's driving this, and we will do that tonight. So God bless all y'all. Have a great Saturday, and I'll talk to y'all soon.